Joining us now is Samhita Mukhopadhyay. She's the executive editor of Feministing and a movement strategist at Purpose.
So let's get right to
Let's
it.
get right to it. So, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so hi Samita.
Hey.
Just last week, fast food workers in New York City took to the streets. There was a fast food strike. It was headed by an organization, Fast Food Forward. Um, I
Yeah.
I know you have a lot to do with the organization of Fast Food Forward, and just like to,
Yeah.
Basically, give us because workers were on strike a couple of months ago. Obviously, they went back out on strike last week. Can you give us just a kind of overview and update on what's happening with that movement and where things stand?
Yeah. So last November, workers went on strike, demanding kind of $15 and the right to form a union without interference. And, part of it was the recognition that this is an enormous kind of low-wage workforce in New York City that, on average makes less than $8 an hour, generally do not get enough hours, don't even get full-time hours, and this is, deliberate on behalf of the company to deny them kind of benefits that you get when you're a full-time employee, and kind of doing the math, if you're making $8 an hour, that adds up to like $150 a week, is not a sustainable or, kind of possible life in New York City. And so, kind of making the point that a lot of these corporations are living off of, almost government subsidies to a certain extent, because there's no way you can actually live off of that kind of money without some support for housing and food and transportation and childcare. So that was kind of the initial spark to go on strike, and I think really building on the momentum that low-wage worker activism is kind of taking nationally right now, right? And, kind of on the heels of the Walmart strike, and other industries that are slowly starting to kind of look at, not having representation, but really suffering from very low wages and wage theft and poor working conditions. So, obviously organizing takes a long time. So that was kind of the first strike was in November, and then, kind of in also along with the death of the assassination of Martin Luther King last week, where he was actually, 45 years ago, it's also the anniversary of the Memphis sanitation workers who had gone on strike. And so, a big part of the strike last week was to be kind of really invoking this civil rights idea about, we deserve justice, kind of we are people and we deserve to be treated as people. And that was really the kind of focus of last week's march. And kind of also exciting part of this is that Memphis sanitation workers actually came up and visited with the fast food workers the week before to kind of stand in solidarity with them and did a series of kind of public events. So that's pretty much, where we're at. I think, Fast Food Forward is a coalition, it's a worker-led coalition of different, fast food workers across New York City. And the public-facing piece is also that we've, built out this online kind of community of over 100,000 people that are incredibly engaged and excited and, pushing the momentum forward.
That's really great. And I actually think one of the most powerful things that you guys have done is, and this will lead me to the question I have for you, which is I think that you have so clearly connected this movement to things that are universally recognized as being, or maybe they're not in some respects, maybe they're under assault, but we recognize civil rights. We recognize Dr. King. We recognize the kind of progressive unfoldment of rights in America in a certain way, but we don't recognize them economically. And that's, of course, where he was going and connecting with everything else, whether it's women's rights, civil rights, and all the rest. And I think this is particularly relevant because when we go into democratic politics, which is, ostensibly the liberal party in America, though obviously we know there are many different facets of the Democratic Party. And we know that, increasingly it's becoming totally unacceptable for Democratic politicians to oppose marriage equality or being, anti-choice or things like that. But when it comes to these types of issues, the recognition of workers' rights at even this most kind of basic level, because as you pointed out, it's simply impossible to live under these wages. There's a lot more division. So taking it specifically, we have a kind of mayoral race shaping up in New York City, which I think, has consequences and mirrors the rest of the country in some respects. What's the kind of response from mainstream kind of Democratic politicians, maybe people like Christine Quinn, who's like the front runner running for mayor in New York, or other people like that to the fast food forward movement?
So the response from, Christine Quinn and, I think with John Liu and, a lot of people have come out standing in solidarity actually with the fast food worker strikes. And Christine Quinn tweeted in support of it back in November. And, we also held a forum a couple of weeks ago, where the kind of question about, right now in New York City is like, is the minimum wage kind of going to go up, right? And so I think that there is a lot of buzz around, raising the minimum wage for New York, for New York State, and really having the organizers holding a lot of these politicians accountable to like what kind of policy are you actually going to support? To like, are you going to pay attention to the kind of growing noise that's being made in the sector? And and I think that it's one thing to it's great that Christine Quinn kind of stood in solidarity with us, but I think it's a different question of, even if the minimum wage goes up to like $8.25 an hour, like, is that even something you can live off in New York City? Like, it's not, right? And so I think that, while we have buy-in from a lot of kind of left-leaning politicians in the state, there's still, like, that's just the beginning, right? Like, there's a lot more to go in terms of actually building some kind of understanding that this is actually what, like, a livable wage in New York City is actually $21 an hour, right? Like, we're not going to pass that law, but that's the reality, that numbers wise, right? So what is it that we actually need to do to have, start pushing this in a direction that is going to be livable? And I think for us, one of the first steps is holding some of these corporations accountable, right?
Yeah.
Working with, working with politicians, because, obviously, any step is good. Any raise in the minimum wage will be good, but we have to have some real talk about how much money it actually takes to live.
We need real talk about economic issues.
Has there been any response from the different fast food companies? I mean, this was the largest fast food strike in, I believe, this country's history. Have they given any sort of response to what took? No, none. No response. McDonald's had like one thing. They put out something on their Facebook page or maybe on their website that was like, employees love working here, actually.
Oh my God.
They're like,
the week after.
They are such, I mean,
I'm surprised they didn't throw in like an advertisement there too. Like, employees love working here. Buy our new Big Mac. It's the next big.
Yeah, employees have a great time here. Can we just, this is really puerile of me, but I just need to send this out to McDonald's for a second.
You are a douchebag.
I mean, but actually, that pivots to a serious point, because we spend a lot of time on this show. Obviously, one of the kind of fun parts, as you know, and also really potentially depressing and enraging parts of being in like progressive media and advocacy is you spend a lot of time consuming right-wing media. So you have this like disturbing knowledge. Like, I actually remember one time I was watching Bill Maher or something with a girl I was dating a couple years ago, actually, and Andrew Breitbart was on the panel, and he was just being his awful self, and she was like, "Who the hell is that?" And I was like, "Oh man, I really envy like not knowing who that is." But at any rate, we played a clip last week or earlier this week when Matt and I were filling in for Sam. And we played a clip of Fox and Friends, which is the morning like ultra moron
Ducey, Kilmeade, and Gretchen Carlson.
Yes, just like this kind of like vacuum into your brain, sucking up brain cells as you watch it. Like knocking down IQ points precipitously. And they were talking about the fast food strikers and basically giving them a lecture about, first of all, saying, well, if they need more money, they could work 2 jobs. And secondly,
that one was specifically given towards, they even mentioned, and single moms and dads, if you need more money, just get a second job.
Yeah, get a second. They specifically called out single parents to do that. They did this whole long, condescending and disgusting riff about how, they could work their way up the management chain. And it all started with a joke of like, well, I went to McDonald's this morning and where's the guy who hands me my Big Mac or my, Egg McMuffin or
Right.
whatever? And I think that, and what made me so actually enraged by it, and I don't usually get enraged by these things, I'm usually pretty amused by them, was just this like profound dehumanization of these people. And I think that that's
Yeah.
the other part of what's going on here. There's the politics, there's the economics, which are really clear. But in order for that to even be remotely acceptable, we need to have a
Yeah.
discourse that these people are not deserving of any basic empathy, dignity, or respect. And I just
Yeah.
wish you could speak to that as well.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, one of the frames that we really need to counter in pushing a narrative for low-wage work and why there needs to be a low-wage worker kind of uprising, right? Because there is a fundamental belief that you deserve what you have and that you actually, like, you did something special, and that's why you make more money than the person next to you. It's not, along, where, of course, like, we all have different jobs, we have different skill sets, but there's this piece around opportunity, right? What you actually have access to and the kind of opportunities you have access to.
Right.
And, people like, this kind of like narrative of, well, if you work hard and if you work two jobs, then you can get there. The stories that we've been, the kind of workers that we've been talking to, the fast food workers, it's like, these are responsible kids. Like, these are kids that have done everything. They went to high school. A lot of them are trying to work part-time so they can go to college. And even at that, with wages at $7.25 an hour, like, you can't cover one semester of tuition at City College. You can't cover your rent in outer Brooklyn, let alone a neighborhood where you could actually have access to transportation and good food and childcare, and in a neighborhood that you're not afraid for your kids to go outside and play in. So it's not even this kind of, oh, they're not trying hard enough, they're not working hard enough. A lot of them, they want other jobs, actually. They want to take a second part-time job. Often the way that schedules are made, and this is true for retail work and a lot of other kind of low-wage work, is they make your schedule in such a way that you don't actually find out what your schedule is until Sunday or Monday night. So even if you had another job, you wouldn't be able to schedule it with your existing hours. So it's kind of like you're just supposed to be at the whim of these corporations and available whenever they want you to work, but not be able to build anything for yourself outside of that, And so there are so many different pathways that are just blocked off because of this enormous segment of the population that is literally just being limited. They are not allowed to kind of work. They're not allowed to work the hours that they need. They're not allowed the flexibility to kind of go to college, to take care of their families. Yeah. And the stories are actually, they're overwhelming. I mean, after, I think there's a perception that fast food workers are just teenagers that kind of are, working their summers to, make some extra money to get their car payment or something like that. That's absolutely not the case. There's, a small percentage of them are actually teenagers. Often they're also supporting their families. But there's, an overwhelming percentage, I think it's something like 70%, are from 25 and older that are kind of career fast food workers, right? And they, there's stories of people that have worked for 4 or 5 years that have never gotten a raise. There was one story of this man who's 86 years old.
And displaying all of the traits that we constantly hear, they're working hard, they're playing by the rules, and that's supposed to be the basic bargain of America. Matt had another question, and I think we'll transition, but that's really, this is tremendous and important work.
Yeah, one last question on this. With all this going on, and I feel like Fast Food Forward, especially, just really took things to the next level last week. What's next what's the next course of action from Fast Food Forward?
We have to continue. I think there's a couple of things that need to happen, right? Obviously, the organizing efforts need to continue, but, the larger question of kind of what can we do is really pushing, some of these public engagement pieces around education of, what is it? How does it help the economy for these wages to go up, right? What is a livable wage? What is the kind of, what are possibilities for, demands in terms of what can we ask, what can we actually hold these corporations accountable to? And I really think that, in terms of next steps, we really need to start, I think we just need to, dare I say this on the radio, I think we just need to start focusing on these CEOs and get them to respond. What are you going to do about the fact that the majority of your workforce is not living, is not able to live on the salary that you're giving them while you're sitting home making $6.5 million a year or whatever?
Absolutely. Well, right. No, absolutely. What are you going to do about the fact that you literally, this isn't in any way hyperbolic. You're literally practicing some form of feudalism, essentially, and you're grinding
Yeah.
out people's lives, all to, just kind of maximize a production chain, which has all sorts of other problems in it. So that's
Right.
tremendous work. And
Right,
we're
like
obvious.
their salary is a charitable handout that they should be grateful they're getting because they should just be happy they're allowed to work on
No, exactly. No,
at the
exactly.
castle
Right.
that is McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the mentality, and I think that's what's so important about what you guys are doing, and everything is important, but you're attacking that mentality fundamentally, and that's what needs to be shifted, I think, at a very ground and base level to kind of address not the fast food workers and workers at Walmart and this kind of whole system that's in place. So we'll keep following this closely, obviously.